Someone is like Cheech and Chong in here. I'm just kidding. This is just his humidifier, but someone is shedding, so we're going extra hard on it right now. You just gonna keep pretending like I'm not even here? Story of my life. Look, the hard breathing, like dramatic teenager has started. Look at that. You know I love you, though. I'm here to talk about how to tame iguanas. I'm gonna apologize, this room is a little echoey. I'm not really sure why, because I have so much stuff, including a carpet that I'm sitting on, to like insulate, but it is what it is. So you may or may not know, if you're new on my channel, my name is Kristen Leanne. I love animals more than people, and that's why I started this channel. I do a lot of animal rescuing, although it's been a little bit on hold since I've been having babies the past few years. But I rescued an iguana named Sailor years ago now, and she is doing wonderfully, but she was in an awful situation, and I will link that video for you below if you want to check it out. My tortoise is going to be doing that noise probably the whole time, so I'm going to have to relocate him in a minute because that's going to get really freaking annoying. But when I got Sailor, she was only about 6 months old. And she was in so much pain. She was so afraid of humans because of how she had been treated thus far in her small, short time on this earth. And it was just really sad. She was trying to bite me. She was trying to whip me with her tail. And it's taken a long time for me to be able to handle her and for trust to develop. And I know that that can be something that a lot of people want to rush because they really want to love on their animal and just give them this life that they deserve. But there's a way to do it, and there's a way to be successful at it, and I'm gonna show you and tell you exactly how you can do that, and you can just get your animal tame and comfortable with you and want to spend time with you. So taming an iguana takes consistency, patience, and time. They are naturally territorial animals and can be quite defensive because they're so used to being hunted. So here is like the Montessori style and the respectful way to get your iguana to trust you and be comfortable with handling and actually come to enjoy it. So let's jump right in. I'm gonna grab Sailor, and in all honesty, I've been so busy with my kids and my household the past like freaking couple years that she does not get out of her cage as much as I'd like her to. So we'll see how she does. But we have come so far that it's like quite remarkable. And I'm actually in the process of building a giant building on my property, and I'm gonna move all of my animals in there and build her just like the most giant cage ever. I also have an outdoor enclosure aviary that I've had welded that's like this beautiful A-frame. So I'm about to build that out too, and I will be putting those videos on this channel so you can check those out. But I'm really excited to get that going, especially since we have spring and summer like coming up. It's gonna be perfect timing. I wouldn't normally wear gloves with Sailor because we're good like that. However, I was baking some sourdough bread the other day and I have some gnarly blisters on my hands from touching the lid when it was 475 degrees. So the last thing I need right now is for her dirty claws to cut open one of my blisters and for it to get infected. So I will say though, gloves are a very important thing to wear in the beginning because their mouths contain some very sharp teeth and you don't want to get bit. They can literally do some serious damage. I grew up with an iguana. His name was Iggy. She's a female, but I had a male, it was my dad's male iguana, and he caused some serious damage. Actually, I only have blisters on the one hand, so I'm gonna take it off this one. Probably not the best idea to put a glove in my mouth that I touch my reptiles with, but you know, whatever. Let's go throw caution to the wind. So when you first get your iguana, whether it's a rescue from a store, and when they're younger, they're typically a little bit more skittish, you're gonna wanna give them 1 to 2 weeks to completely settle into their new environment. You have to understand that they're coming from one place of what they're used to, potentially a very chaotic environment in a pet store, or maybe a not so great situation like Sailor came from, where they're just not comfortable. And so when you're moving into an entirely new environment, you're scared. You don't know if there's something there that can hurt you. And like I said, they are used to being pretty territorial and kind of watching out for themselves as with any other animal that came from the wild that we domesticated. Hi, sweet girl. Look how good Sailor's doing though. Like she is like she's like the best. She's like the sweetest. This is like my baby. I was gonna rehome her when I first rescued her, and then I was like, I bonded with her and I was like, I can't. You're my baby. I'm the only one that's gonna take care of you as good, and you deserve it. The one thing you can do within that 1 to 2 week time, so it's not just like you just sitting there waiting, tapping your fingers. You can get a cup of coffee, you can get tea, you can eat your lunch near the cage, you can talk to them softly and just be around them, but avoid eye contact with them. They see this as a possible threat, so you don't want to do that. But talk to them, sit near them, be around them, and let them get used to you, your appearance, and your voice. Also avoid any sudden movements around their cage or any loud noises or any yelling of any sort. They rely heavily on body language out in the wild and with one another, so they're gonna expect to rely on your body language as well. So you don't want to you want to avoid any quick movements, anything that they might take as a threat. I really underestimated like how cold I thought it was like, it's so hot. It's so hot in my animal room, which is like a good thing. But I'm like, I've got this sweater on. I'm just like about to start sweating my ass off. When you're around their enclosure, you're going to want to move just like slowly and predictably and speak to them softly. So once your 2 weeks has kind of passed, what you're going to do, also you have to feed them during that time. So one thing I will say is when you're reaching in to feed them, don't make eye contact, move very slowly, predictably. Feed them at the same time every single day. They like routine. They want to know what to expect. Put their food dish in the same spot in their cage every single time, so they know exactly what you're doing when you come in. They will learn. Start with like super small sessions when you open the cage after this 2 week period where they've kind of settled in a little bit. They know what to expect. They've seen you. They've heard you. They're kind of getting used to you and your presence. What you're going to do is open their cage and put your hand in their cage. Maybe you're adjusting something slowly. You're spraying, you're misting, you're changing their litter pan, you know, what have you. Just move very slowly, predictably, non-threatening. Don't come near them, don't touch them. Just let them see that you are putting your hands in their space and their enclosure and you're not harming them or making any sudden movements. One thing that you can start doing kind of in the early stages after that 2 weeks is kind of letting them associate your presence and you're approaching their enclosure with something good. Feed them one of their favorite treats like collard greens, mango, hibiscus flowers, and let them come to you. Show it to them, maybe like a foot away from them. Don't like shove it in their face, and definitely don't offer it to them above them. And put it a little lower, let them see it, don't make eye contact with them, and let them decide if they want to come to you. And if they're not really coming to you and they don't really seem super interested, or maybe they're a little interested but they're hesitant, you can also use tongs. I will also say when you're feeding though, keep your hand very flat. They have very sharp teeth and it's going to be really hard for them to differentiate until it's too late that they've got a finger and not a hibiscus plant or flower or the collard greens or whatever. What a little ham. You're such a little ham. You're so spoiled. You're such a little spoiled girl. So once you've kind of done the hand in the enclosure, different areas, and they seem calm, their body language will tell you whether they're ready or not, although every iguana is totally different. Her body language, she'll like stiffen up and like raise her head kind of away from me, and typically that's a sign that they're gonna whip you and they're not comfortable. But for her, for some reason, I've gotten to know her, and her body language when she does that does not mean that. I mean, you can see her right now. She did it when I went in the cage. She does it when I go in to pet her, and then she absolutely loves it. So, but a general rule of thumb is that when they kind of stiffen up, they like lift their chest up to kind of make themselves a little bit bigger. They're kind of, you know, turning their body because they're about to try and whip you. Those are all signs that it's not time to move into the next step I'm going to talk about. But when you notice a calm demeanor, they're trusting you a bit, you can start with very, you know, short intervals. Do it only for about 5 or 10 minutes. You can pick them up. I highly recommend gloves again. Their claws are also extremely sharp. Wear long sleeves. They scratch like crazy. Even her, even though she's tame, like she's just she scratches. It is what it is, and it's never gonna change. Always lift them from below. They're going to be kind of like a cat when you try and pick a cat up off of a blanket. They're gonna kind of dig their claws into the wood, whatever it is that they have that they're sitting on or perched on, and you're gonna wanna kind of just slowly move their fingers away. Make sure you are not ripping their fingers off of anything. Another really good method that I have loved is called an iguana burrito. You don't wrap them up tightly or anything, but you can take a towel and, are you sniffing my hair? Yeah, you're gonna crawl on top of my head? That's probably what's gonna happen right now. Just don't poop on it, please. You're gonna take the towel and kind of slowly move it onto them without putting it above them. When something is coming at pretty much any animal from above, they see that as a threat because there's hawks and birds out in the wild that can attack from above. So that puts them on the defensive immediately. So make sure you're doing all of this from below. Once you remove them, you can hang out with them, you can sit with them, you can wrap them in an iguana burrito. I have in the past wrapped the animal in a towel loosely so that they're not feeling restricted and they can move their arms, but just so that I can hold them firmly enough to kind of show them that we are in a good place, we get along, I'm not a threat. But you don't want to push that too much. I would say that's kind of more in an advanced step, and if you're kind of new to all this, you might want to avoid that entirely. It will take a little bit more time, but if you don't really know what you're doing, you might want to skip that one. I would also say that an important thing when you're taking them out is a small space. So a bathroom is a really good idea, but make sure you have like animal proofed this bathroom so that they can't get under anything or behind anything. Like, don't go sit on your couch where they can get under your couch and you're gonna have to like rip them out of it or aggressively pull them out of it somehow, or use a broom or something like that. That would be completely traumatizing. They also feel a lot more comfortable in smaller spaces. So it's a good idea to make sure you're like in a bathroom or something like that. So another great thing to consider before you even start any of these things is make sure your environment is proper for them, because if you don't have a proper environment for your animal or any animal, they're going to be more stressed out and they're not going to be very comfortable. So you're going to want to make sure your basking temperature is around 95 degrees and it's not too close to the bulb. You don't want them to burn themselves. Some iguanas will jump and grab things, so you need to keep that in mind and make sure it's suspended high enough so that's not an issue, or put it on top of a metal cage roof. Their basking temperature should be around 75 to 85 degrees, and that's kind of like the cooler end. Iguanas need to be able to thermoregulate just like chameleons, so your basking area should be kind of up a little higher, and then the ambient temperature should naturally be, if your basking temperature is the right temperature, around 75 to 85, but please keep in mind that this really depends on where you live. So if you live somewhere extremely cold, you may need a supplemental heat lamp to keep the ambient temperature where you need it to be. Or like, for instance, maybe a 75 watt bulb is good for me for my basking temperature to get me to 95 because my animal room is warm and I live in California. But if you live somewhere really cold or somewhere with snow, you might need a wattage that's quite higher. I think she's about to go explore. Are you gonna go, you're trying to get back in your cage, or are you gonna go explore? What's it gonna be? Also, you need to know that every single animal is completely different. Yes, animals and certain species have specific things that are, particular traits and characteristics of that specific species, but at the end of the day, they're all slightly different, and so you need to respect that and just take your time. It's going to take consistency, patience, and just respecting them and let them kind of come to you on their own terms and their own time. And some iguanas might take 2 months, some might take 6 months. It just really depends on kind of what they've been through and their personality in general. Here are a couple quick things that you should avoid doing at all costs. Never force any handling. If you feel like this process is moving too slow and you want to kind of force something a little too quick, it's going to backfire on you and it's going to set you back 20 steps, so don't do it. If you notice any tail whipping or biting or hissing, then you need to go back a couple steps and start from scratch and just go from there. Another thing is you need to avoid looking into their eyes. I already mentioned this, but this is something that they see as a threat. Almost all animals see this as a threat. So you're gonna wanna avoid looking in their eyes, look elsewhere. I do this with my chameleons still. When I come up to the enclosure to like change something or feed, I'll pretty much never look him in the eyes. It's something that he does not like. He sees it as a threat and it makes him uncomfortable. Don't ever chase your iguana around the enclosure to catch them. If you are starting to handle them and you're in the bathroom and they don't want you near them, then what I would recommend is kind of tossing a towel over them lightly and doing the iguana burrito. And then you can put them back in their enclosure, but definitely do not chase them around their enclosure if they are not willing to come to you or allow you to pull them out. This is traumatizing. This doesn't work for any animal. It's not good. Don't do it. One thing also is to never, ever, ever grab any animal, especially an iguana, by the tail. This includes rats. Do not grab rats, but don't grab any animal by the tail. There's lots of nerve endings in there. You can do a lot of damage. A lot of animals, they can drop their tails. Iguanas are also one that can drop their tail if they feel threatened. So maybe you'll see their tail sticking out from furniture at some point or under something in the bathroom that you didn't realize they could get under. Don't grab their tail. You're gonna need to wait for them to come out, and that's just how it is. Don't grab their tail. Hopefully that was somewhat useful. Those are all my tips and tricks on how I got this one to like me and to let me touch her. She's come so far, and she just is loving life, and she's just such a friendly iguana, and I absolutely love her. And you can get these guys to a point where they just really enjoy human touch, and they enjoy being with you, and they enjoy coming out. Now I even will open her cage and like leave it open, and it's up to her. I let her decide if she wants to come out rather than pulling her out. And this is also a really good thing to be able to handle them because they do love to be soaked, and that's something that you want to do on a regular basis. So them being friendly with you and liking you is just super important to be able to soak them. And just for so many other reasons, just for their quality of life, if they're terrified of you their whole lives, I mean, what way is that to live? So hopefully you guys found this useful. Check out Sailor's video of when she was only 6 months old and when I saved her and the condition she was in when she came. You will not recognize her. It is absolutely crazy, but she's such a good girl. And yeah, I would love to hear your guys' comments in below. Let me know if you guys have any other tips that I forgot. I'm sure there are some, and like I said, every single iguana is totally different. So if you've had success with a specific method with your iguana, definitely let me know. I would love to hear about it, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.